Welcome back. We have episode 23 of the Nola Taoist. I'm your host, Chris Martino. An 18-year martial arts veteran. For the last 5 years now, I've been studying and practicing in the realm of the health arts, which a long time ago they were all one. Martial and healing was all one. In fact, specifically with the internal martial arts, they all come from a spiritual practice, and then it started to move out and towards the world and became a health practice, and from there then it became martial. At its lowest, most basic level, it became martial. But for those of you who aren't even big fans of the idea of martial and fighting and things like that, it is good physical exercise. If you're like anti-fighting, some people are pacifists, and that's okay. That's fine. My take is a little different. Definitely wouldn't call myself a pacifist, and I think anyone who knows me knows that I'm not a pacifist. I don't look to hurt anybody, but as the old Quaker adage goes, if someone was going to break into my home, pardon me, sir, but you're standing right where I'm about to shoot. But I'd much rather focus my energy and effort and attention on healing of myself and others nowadays. And when we talk about healing, it's so vast and broad, and it's deep. And it's not just physical, like can I pick my arm up and hold a weight or something like that, or can I reach all the way behind my back and scratch my back, or am I flexible, all these kinds of things. But there's your physical health, yeah. Are you free of bodily pain? And then there's emotional health, yeah. And then there's mental health, which is a huge epidemic nowadays. Anxiety, depression, and all these things. Emotional health is a big issue, and then spiritual health is really big too nowadays, because the ideas of the world nowadays are that everything is awful and the world is shit. And don't get me wrong, you can look around and find a lot of negative things in the world, but you can also look around and find positive things, or just see things as they are. That becomes your choice, or perhaps when you reach a level of non-duality. Yeah. Anyway, I digress. Tea time. I have a little bit of what you can't see in the camera. It'll spill, so I'm not going to spill it because I don't want to clean it up. But I have peppermint tea. Oh, so good. Nothing fancy, just basic peppermint tea. Really good for the lungs, good for digestion. Big fan of peppermint tea. Like to drink peppermint tea. Really good. So I haven't been on here in a while. I hadn't posted in a while. I hadn't done a podcast in a while. Been real busy. And I'm starting to slow down a little bit as we officially transition into winter. Hold that thought for just one moment. Thanks, had to make an adjustment in the AC. All right, so by the Taoist calendar, we've already entered the season of winter. We're in the first, we just entered into the second little mini season, or a little series of winter. It's broken down in 2-week periods. Each season is, so we've just entered the second period. Now, I've been busy transitioning from fall to winter and tying up some things and some loose ends and kind of starting to settle down. I had a wedding in Honduras. A good friend of mine just got married. That was a blast. Oh man, they really know how to party out there. Um, long, long wedding, not like American weddings. Very long, lots of drinking, lots of tequila. They, it's a third world country, and things are really cheap there, and the workers make not a lot of money. So they have a certain value in having a good time, lots of drinking and partying and just enjoying family and these types of things. They really like to party. So there's no shortage of having fun. But being there really reminded me how grateful I am to be an American. All things that I have access to and all the privileges that I do have. Things were so cheap there. It was very easy to tip big tips, and people were just elated. I would tip on top of gratuities, which weren't that common, but the hotel I was staying in, they would put a gratuity, but it was like a 10% gratuity, so I would tip on top of that. Being an American, I'm used to a 20% gratuity. And the cost of goods are about a third over there is what they cost here in America, so I felt like I could spend a few bucks and be okay about it. And I was happy to make an impact on someone else's life and to make those few bucks to go a long way. A few American dollars, but a lot of money for them to go a long way. And it was interesting by being in another country. And I speak Spanish, but the culture is different than American culture. So when I visit a place like that, I take the stance to be like a humble beginner, like a fresh person, right? And what's amazing is to see how their culture is, to clean my slate of the American culture and to embody more of their culture. I noticed that everyone's big on telling people hello and goodbye. They address people, whereas in the inner cities in America, you don't see a lot of that. It's just like, it's not always like a hello. If it is, it's a very scripted hello, not a genuine thing, just to acknowledge another person. And over there was very much just a genuine acknowledgement of the other person, which was cool to see. So I try to clean my slate and be a new person and really experience the totality of the culture there and what was going on. And that was cool because there were some very refreshing things. Again, like genuinely greeting people when you walk into a place or around an area, whether it be a business or someone on the street sometimes. And people bump into each other. Oh, excuse me, sorry. Not that that doesn't happen here, but over there, it's just very genuine and it's very refreshing. So had a great time. Been at the restaurant a little more as well, so that of course has taken my time. So I haven't been on here much, but here's to getting back to it. Gone away. Food's super tasty over there in Honduras. Not so healthy, but very, very tasty. Very tasty. Every morning for breakfast, they eat beans, refried beans, eggs, sometimes a little avocado. They usually have like maduras, like sweet plantains, and this kind of cheese. It's kind of like a dry cheese. And then they have this like stuff that's kind of like a sour cream as well. So that's usually what they eat for breakfast. That's very, very common, popular breakfast. You'll see that a lot of places you go, even on the menu over there. in a restaurant. We'll have that on the menu. My good friend, his favorite food is something called pollo chuco, which is like a fried chicken with a bunch of fried plantains on the bottom. So the fried chicken sits on a bed of fried plantains, and then they put encurtidos, like these onions that are kind of like pickled red onion, and then like a white cream sauce. And so they really dress the chicken up, right? It's fried chicken with they're called tajadas. They're like fried plantains, and that's the meal, and that's his favorite. So we ate that a few times. Delicious, not healthy, but delicious, right? And one in Honduras. Met some new awesome people. Got to see my friend get married, which was a cool experience. Stayed in a really nice hotel for a really cheap rate because it's in Honduras. And had a lot of fun. Brought some goods back. All right, so I digress. So peppermint tea. So this week I want to talk about the qualities of winter according to the Taoist calendar. Winter is the yin within the yin, the most yin. You will be at the core of yourself. So any ailments or things that ail you emotionally, mentally, they're going to come up and be present. We're all human beings. We all have fears. It's normal for these things to come up and ail you to some extent, right? This is normal. This is reality. So it's good to find a friend that you trust and talk with them a little bit about it. Close friend who you feel you can trust again, just to express yourself on these normal human concerns. So winter, we will be in our minds a lot, so it's a very good time to study, read, learn from books, reading and studying in this fashion. The quality of winter is meditation, stillness, peace, inner tranquility. That's what you will like to find. So in winter, our physical bodies are the least active and prevalent. We're kind of hibernating like a bear. So it's wise to kind of stay at home and stay put, not going out a ton. Be isolated but not alone. Stay around not stay around, but make some time to be around family and very close friends. But aside from that, stay home and stay put. Be alone but not. Be isolated but not alone. Another quality of winter is cold, right? So our bodies are cold, the weather outside will be getting cold. Here in New Orleans, we don't get extremely cold, but we still get cold for us. So it's very important to layer up, especially here. But anywhere you are, I recommend a thin layer on the body to keep the heat in, then a shirt that you would like for aesthetics, and then a winter coat when it gets real cold. Before that, you can just do a thin layer and then a shirt, or a shirt and then maybe like a thin light jacket. But layer up because it will help hold the heat in. As it's cold in the wintertime, we need more heat to warm up our bodies and get ourselves going. There's a thing of like seasonal depression a lot of times for people not being able to heat their bodies up. So in the wintertime, we let go of all diets and So okay, eat a little more protein, a little more spice, a little more richer, saucier foods. Um, the seasoning of winter is salt, but don't go overboard. Yeah. But now's the time to eat your stews and heavy soups and these kinds of things. So you're meant to eat this warm, hot food, richer, saucier, stewier dishes, but don't accumulate excess. Meaning eat, but don't overindulge yourself, okay? Still eat within a normal limit. But eat enough that your body is sufficed and can warm up enough that you have what you need. On that note of eating, you should eat 3 hot meals a day. Again, our bodies are cold, so we need things to heat them up. So we want warm, hot food to help warm them up and heat them up. When during the spring or the summer, you might eat a sandwich and some chips for lunch. Try not to do that. If you're going to eat a sandwich, at least eat a warm sandwich, a hot sandwich. But try to eat 3 hot meals and eat a meal. Again, genuinely stews and saucy dishes and these types of things. Okay. Let's get some more tea. So the wintertime cold, it's important to cover up. Your kidneys are at risk. So really cover up and warm your back. Protect your kidneys. That's delicious. You know, it's good for your kidneys, salt, but not too much, right? Salt is the flavor of the season. This is great tea. I love this tea, peppermint tea. I wish you could drink it through the computer with me. And if, since you can't, get yourself some tea and enjoy it. Hot, it's a great time to drink hot teas. Great time to drink hot teas. Again, warming your body. In the wintertime, often, that's a lot of what I drink, water and hot tea, not too much else. So, in the winter, you're gonna do, but don't do too much, okay? Conserve your energy. For the winter time, what you store and accumulate, it's gonna give you fuel and energy going into the spring and the next year. So on that note, it's very important to rest. If you would normally sleep 6 hours, try to get 7 or 8. Try to get some extra rest for your body. It's very important. The winter is this time of rest and repair to prepare you for the next year. Okay, if you burn yourself out in the winter, you won't have anything going into the next year. So keep that in mind because we don't tend to slow down in America. So as you want to race through the winter time, just keep that in mind. We say in my school, man follows the earth, which we stand on, and the earth follows the heavens, cosmos. So what happens in the cosmos, the shifts and such affect the earth, and then the earth affects us. So there's less sunlight in the winter time, which means we have less energy, which then goes to why we're more in a state of hibernation. Okay. Understand that it's normal to have excessive thinking and such come out in the winter time. You can try and offset this by reading, by doing meditation. That is my advice to you. Accumulate and save your energy, right? So do things that you need to do, check off your list, do what you need to do, but save some energy. Don't burn yourself out. Get to your source and your essence of who and what you are. Spend some time with yourself alone, away from everyone else. Spend some time to yourself, for you, outside of time sleeping or eating a meal or etc. Okay? Just some time to yourself. It's a great time to reflect on the year of everything that you've done in the year that you wanted to do, things you didn't do, and also very important to begin to plan and plot for what's going forward in the next year as it's right around the corner. Spring is the time to get up and run. Run with the chickens, okay? Be like Rocky chasing the chicken in the spring, all right? Get moving. So now is the time to kind of formulate your plans, and maybe you've probably already been thinking of some things you want to do next year. Now's the time to kind of resculpt and shape them and maybe make adjustments and figure out like, okay, I wanted to do 100 things, but it's only realistic to do 20. Or I only want to do 2 things, but you know what? I think also doing this would be great. Whether it's learning a new skill or growing your business or, refining your craft at what you do as a practice, whatever it is, okay? It's something you want to put some thought and effort into over the wintertime. How you would like to grow and evolve into the next year. So those are some of the main qualities of winter, which we are in according to the Taoist calendar. So there's some notes for you to try to apply to your life. I've been doing this for 4 years now, following this advice and living in harmony with the seasons, and it has made a great impact on my life. I can't recommend it enough to other people in the world, which is why I share it in my podcast and in my school, and I go deeper in my classes, but this is why I share it. So let's talk about verse 23 of the Tao Te Jing. But before then, I'm going to have a bit more tea. A big buzzword for winter is stillness. So verse 23 of the Tao Te Jing reads, scatter your words spontaneously. Gusty winds do not outlast the dawn. Torrential rains do not outlast the sun. Why does heaven, earth, in parentheses, nature do this? So scatter your words spontaneously. Gusty winds do not outlast the dawn. Torrential rains do not outlast the sun. Why does heaven, earth do this? So what I take out of that is there are always seasons of change. And like the winter time now where it may be tough and you may have a lot of anxieties or grief and sadness or incessant thoughts running through your mind, you can't calm down. It's just a season and it won't last. It will pass. All of the fears that will come up and what if I don't get my energy back, or what if I'm not healthy, or what if I'm not strong, or what if I don't find a lover, all these things that, as human beings we have concerns over. What if I don't make enough money? What if I don't find a new job? What if my plants die? All these things. the myriad of 10 million things, 10,000 things, whatever you want to call it, the myriad of things, they don't last. They're just a season. They pass, just like the torrential rain, just like the gusts. They may come in hard and fast, but then they're gone, right? This season, even though it might seem like a long time, sometimes it'll pass in the blink of an eye, like a life. What's one season? It passed so fast. Have a conversation with someone who's in their 70s and 80s, and they'll tell you how fast life goes like that. And you'll see why they're hung up on making the most of life and doing all they can do with their life, their energy, making an impact, making a difference, giving a service to the world because it comes and goes, and enjoying it because it comes and goes. And that's the beauty of it, honestly. You never know what's going to happen in life. You could step out the door and fall over and bust your head open. That's life. So it's short. Maybe it is, maybe it's long. Nobody knows. That's the beauty of the mystery, like the Tao. Heaven, earth honors the power of change. Is it less so for people? So I just said about how we follow the earth and the earth follows the heavens, right? The planets are always circulating around us, which is, look at the sun moving around the earth. The earth moving around the sun, which is why we have a winter and a summer, a spring and a fall, right? The moon orbiting, why we have a full moon and a new moon. There's all these changes that happen. Even if the earth sits still, which it doesn't sit still, none of it sits still, it's all moving, rotating, not only just rotating, orbiting, but also moving in space as it orbits, right? There's changes, there's constantly changes, and as human beings, we like our box because it's safe. This is my box. I live in my box. I walk to work every day because it's safer than driving. And I don't interact with people and get into aggressive conversations because that's unsafe. And I do my skincare and I eat good food because it's all safe. Okay, cool. And I eat the same things and I do the same things. I walk the same path to work every day. I have the same conversations with people every day. I do the same exact routine every day. Because it's safe. But it's stagnant and it's dead. There's no life in that. Look at the ocean. It can be smooth or it can be raging in the middle of a storm, right? And that's the beauty of the ocean. That's the beauty of life is the change of the seasons, what it means to be alive. If we do the same thing all the time, we're just stagnant, we're dead. There's no life in stagnation. In fact, if you stay stagnant for too long, the spirit will shake you up. It'll cause you to break a leg. It'll cause something bad to happen. It'll cause you to have a breakup. It'll cause this. It'll cause that. Because there are lessons you need to learn. You need to evolve and change. That's the nature of life, spirit, as spiritual beings that we are. So if you want to be stagnant, spirit will shake you up. Might as well ebb and flow with the changes and enjoy life as it is. Is it less so for people? I would say yes. People they want consistency. I'll use the example because I work at a restaurant part-time. A big thing about a restaurant is people want a consistent quality of food. So if they go there on Monday and the food tastes like this, and they go there on Thursday, they want it to taste like this. If the food doesn't taste the same on Thursday as it does Monday, even though it's cooked by a different person, it's a different day, the person's in a different mood, Americans oftentimes get upset. But oftentimes when you go to a Chinese restaurant, it's a known thing that if the chef's in a bad mood, the food's gonna taste different. What they cook, how they feel. They change with the day, as people should. You need to pursue your activities through the Tao. The Tao becomes one with Tao. The action of the soul becomes one with the action of the soul. So what I take out of that is we tend to be so scattered, right? That we can't even focus ourselves. So I gotta go here, I gotta do that, gotta run this, gotta do that, and so much going on in the world that we're scattered that we're not here. So I have my body, but my mind is all over the place and it's not in my body. My energy is then also spread out and elsewhere, but not in my body. My mind should be in my body, and my energy should be in my body, and my body should be in my body, right? Everything together. The Tao becomes one with the Tao. The action of the soul becomes one with the action of the soul. People have an idea of a moral value, and then they meet a life situation, and in that life situation, the standard norm goes against their moral value. So they go with their moral value, and then they go with the standard norm. So instead of adhering to their morals and values, they go with the standard norm so that they can fit in. And because they go with the standard norm, then they feel conflicted because the standard norm doesn't fit in with their moral value. So maybe they should orientate their morals and values with other people and places and cultures that fit their morals and values. And by that note, then they can make a decision based off their morals and values and not the standard norm. Or they can do the standard norm because it will fall in line with their morals and values, right? Change becomes one with change. Become one with the Tao and enjoy the benefits of the Tao. So the Tao is ever changing. The Tao is also empty. You fill the cup and then you empty it out. It fills and it empties. It's absolute. It's always changing. This is the Tao. And with this being said, to change is to live. As such is the Tao. We like to, as humans, we like to cling to things we know. But a life is made up through experiences, different experiences, and different perceptions. And by having a bigger, wider array of perception, you can see a bigger picture and understand what's fitting and what's not fitting. I'll use the example of one time I was doing a martial arts class, and the instructor asked me, if you saw a man tackle a woman to the ground, start beating him, what would you do? And I said, well, what do you mean? He repeated himself. And I said, okay, but why did he tackle her? What's going on? Is he a police officer? Is he a citizen? Did she hit him with a frying pan first? and he's defending himself, trying to just get her off of him. Like, well, I need more context. And then he went into this whole thing about, well, yeah, it's that's exactly right. It is subjective, because he could be an undercover agent and she just had a bunch of drugs and he busted her, right? And she's trying to hurt him and he's just trying to subdue her. And then you get involved in that and you try and protect the woman and you've just defended someone who's, selling drugs to a minor, right? So you need to have a big, wide perception to have an understanding of what's actually happening, to then understand what's the most appropriate action if you're going to intervene in something, right? Now, you shouldn't. Now, how do you get that bigger perception? You take action on things, and sometimes things you've never done. And so you have a failure, and by having that failure, you learn from that, and then you learn, okay, well, this is the right way to go. But if you never act on that because you're afraid, well, what if it's not the right move? Then you're just stuck and you don't get any more exposure. So you can stay stuck or you can make the action and get the exposure. And through that exposure and action, learn the lesson and get a bigger perception. Become one with the action of the soul and enjoy the benefits of the action of the soul. Become one with change and enjoy all the benefits of change. So, and I'm going to read the next line actually. Faith is never enough. Be in the place of change, not in the place of faith. And I'm going to tie those in together because, again, if I have my body, but my mind's thinking about my kid at school, and then my energy is like dealing with people in front of me, and I'm all discombobulated, and I'm doing the same thing over and over. I'm not present to what's actually happening. And I can't, at that point, embrace any change because I'm so scattered and stuck in doing the same thing, the stagnation. I just do the same thing. This is right and this is wrong. And then I don't have any understanding or idea of what is or what isn't in that moment. So faith is never enough, meaning faith is never enough. Be in the place of change, not the place of faith. So, meaning, don't just take faith that like everything in your life is going to be perfect because you've done it before and it worked out well and it's perfect. No, change, evolve to the current circumstances that are there, and figure out how to live in those current circumstances. You need to make more money, then try to work more. Don't just have faith that money is going to come around, because if the economy is dealing with inflation and the economy as a whole is in recession, you're probably not just going to make more money. That's not going to change for a while. So the change is to figure out a way to make more money, whether that's to work more or sell your goods at a higher price, whatever you have to do to make more money. You have to be in the Tao, you have to be in the change. You may like the change, you may not like the change, but it's just a change. And guess what? It'll change again. So you might as well evolve and adapt to it and do what you have to do and embrace it and find some good out of what you have to do, because even out of hardship comes a lesson and a value, wisdom out of hardship, which, by the way, fear is the negative emotion of the kidneys with winter, with the season of winter, and wisdom is the positive emotion. But so you might as well get something out of this change and this lesson that you have to learn and get a benefit from it instead of just suffering through being stagnant. Yeah, because to change is to be alive. And when you follow things enough, these hard times oftentimes have a connection to how they lead to the positive. So what I mean by that is, I'll give you an example on my personal life. When I was a young kid, I was born in Louisiana on the West Bank. lived there until Hurricane Katrina hit. When Hurricane Katrina hit, my family moved to Indiana. I didn't really want to move. I had a built-in friend group from childhood. I was home. I knew that area. I knew where I was going to school. I knew where I could play, where I couldn't play. This was my home. I didn't want to move. But after the hurricane, my family moved to Indiana. My parents thought that there would be a better life for them and us there in Indiana. And at first, I resented it. I was really sad. I was really upset. Uh, but through living out in the country, I saw a whole. I was in culture. It was a complete culture shock. I saw a whole another array of life, a slower pace of life. I did things like cut firewood, like hard physical labor, and lived in houses where we're burning stoves. Um, and I learned lots of lessons there that I would never learned in the city. And I had lots of experiences that I've never had in the city. I made friends and listened to new types of music, like country music. And I actually really like country music because it was so much part of the culture. Everyone listened to country music there. Um, I saw what it meant to have a slower, more peaceful pace of life that wasn't common in the city. So when I moved back to the city, I had this experience of a slower style of life, and I also had the experience of the city. And I could figure out how to kind of meet in the middle and not like burn the wheels off of the city and not be bored to death out in the country. And you can kind of find the middle line. And it gave me a lot of experiences and wisdom. It taught me. I learned hard work out there. I got involved in martial arts out there. So this negative thing of moving away from all of my friends, I had to learn how to make new friends. And because I wasn't super extroverted and didn't make a lot of new friends right away, I poured my effort and energy into school because I wasn't out playing ball with my friends. So when I lived down here as a kid, the culture was not big on education, and I just wanted to go hoop up and play ball or volleyball or basketball or badminton or go around the neighborhood, ride my bikes, play soccer with my friends. But then when I moved to Indiana, the school I went to, the culture was on education, and I didn't have any friends, and I needed something to do with my energy. Might as well put it into school, and then I was at the point of like choosing my classes. Middle school, high school, start to choose the classes you want to take. And now I really like the classes I get to choose, and I got really good grades, and that set me up to go to college, and that set me up for learning and growth in that way. So I would have never gotten to be a better student had I not moved to Indiana. I probably maybe might never have gotten into martial arts because, well, when I was there, I wanted to do martial arts. And my father told me, okay, you want to do this? And it was a taekwondo school and you had to sign a contract. He said, okay, you want to do this? There's farmers to the right and left of us. Go down the road and find a job. So at 12 years old, I went and found a job working with a farmer. 13, excuse me. So I found a job working with a farmer at 13 years old. I would have never learned that type of work ethic probably living in the city because I would have had this mindset like, oh, you can't get a job until you're old enough, till you're 16, and then you can legally go work, or maybe 15 if you work at a pool or whatever, but like not at 13, and I probably would have got into martial arts because I probably wouldn't have felt like I could afford it. I might not have had an instructor that worked with me. So all these beautiful blessings, getting into martial arts and educating myself and seeing a different pace of life came from moving 800 miles away with no friends and very little family that we were close to. Moving away from everything I've ever known to something brand new, different, and fresh to me, a whole new way of life. I became a completely different person. I changed and I grew, and I'm actually really grateful for the experience. Even though I went through a lot of like sadness and depression over it initially as a young child that didn't know how to cope and evolve to the situation right away. I learned so much, and it was a really great experience and time in my life. And that's the end of verse 23. And that concludes the time for this week. I hope you enjoyed. Gambé.